This tutorial will focus on the difference between citing sources found through the Thompson Library's databases and citing web pages found on the open internet. Most sources of information you find through the Thompson Library are digital forms of academic journals, books, and newspapers. Since these sources can also be found through other libraries and personal subscriptions or purchases, you should not cite them as a web page. Instead, cite them according to their publication format to help your readers locate them. Let's take a look at an example of a journal article found through one of our ProQuest databases. To cite this article, we need to find information about the article itself and the journal in which it was published. For the article, we need the author or authors' names, the title, the page numbers, and if it has one, the digital object identifier or DOI. For the journal, we will need the title of the journal, the volume and issue numbers if it has one, as well as the publication date. This information is usually at the top of the page, above the full text of the article, but how it is arranged will change depending on the database you are using. So here's ProQuest, and we've got the title of the article at the very top, followed shortly after by a list of authors, and the title of the journal, the volume and issue numbers, the date of publication, the page range, and finally the DOI. Let's take a second look at an EBSCO article. So it looks a little bit similar since we've got the title of the author title at the top of the page, followed shortly by the author's names, and then down below the title of the journal and a publication date. But we don't see a volume or issue number. We also don't see a page range right off the bat, and we really have to scroll a little bit farther down to find the DOI. In this case, it's a good idea to check the full text of the article, including that PDF, to see if there is a volume and issue listed anywhere where it looks like it doesn't on this case, but we will also be able to find that page range. So starting with number 1, and that page range we will need to include in our citation. Most of our library databases also do have tools to help you cite your sources. So in the case of EBSCO here, it's on the far right side with this cite tool, and it shows you an example of what the citation should look like. These are typically pretty good, but always double check them against the publication manual to be sure. In ProQuest, the button is up here at the top right corner called Cite, and then once you click on it, you'll be given a list of different citation styles as well as an example of what the citation should look like. For longer projects, a citation manager like EndNote Online can help you organize citations and create bibliographies. To learn more about EndNote Online, check out our other online video tutorials. Now let's take a look at citing sources outside the library. News stories, data sets, social media posts, podcasts, videos, images, and even laws can all be found online and should not be cited as a web page, though the web address is included in their citations. The APA and MLA manuals have examples of how these sources should be cited. However, this tutorial is going to focus on simple web pages. A web page is typically static and informational. This first example is a page from the Mayo Clinic about sleep. We need to find some similar information to what we needed to cite in those earlier journal articles, like the author, the date it was published, the title of the web page, and the title of the website. Yes, there is a difference. A website is a linked set of web pages from the same organization or entity. We'll also need the URL or web address. Often the web page title is fairly clear, but in this case it's buried a little bit in the middle of the page, 5 Ways to Sleep More Soundly, and the website title is often the same as the organization it's representing. If you're ever confused about what is the web page title or the website title, the browser tab can also often tell you. So in this case, it's showing us that the website title is 5 Ways to Sleep More Soundly, and that Mayo Clinic is the website title. Okay. In this example, the author's name is fairly prominent but I'm not seeing a date of publication right off the bat. And sometimes in web pages it can be a little bit hidden. In this case, it's at the very end of the content. And sometimes there isn't a date, and we'll see that in our next example here. This example is coming from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's an informational page about housing discrimination and the Fair Housing Act. For this HUD page, the title of the web page is very prominent in the middle and at the top, and we can use HUD's full name as the website title. But then we're running into those issues. So we're not seeing a date of publication. We're also not seeing an individual person listed as an author. So in this case, we could use HUD's name as a group author, which means an APA style that we don't need to duplicate it as the website title. I would also suggest including a retrieval date if you are concerned about changes being made to a page, or if you can't find a date of publication. All right. So here is what the APA style of citation should look like. They're in alphabetical order by the author's name. So you've got Peterson at the top, and that's coming from the Mayo Clinic. And then the second one is from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. You'll notice that we've got that retrieve date as well as the no date notation because of that publication date issue. For more help with citing sources correctly, the style manuals are the best source of information, but if you don't have a copy, we also have a research process guide linked on the homepage with additional resources to help you, including a link to EndNote as well as some additional resources about those different citation styles. Also, please feel free to ask a librarian or the Writing Center for help if you need it. Thank you for watching.